Welcome to ShiftWatch. I'm your host, Starbuck. In this episode, Tara and I sat down for our third session together on her podcast, Ethereal Edge, where we discuss the nature of the disclosure that's taking place, out-of-body experiences, and what evidence is being presented. Next, pole shift acceleration is happening, and the government has some new technology tracking it. This is more evidence of the cosmic changes taking place on the planet, so there's no use in ignoring it any longer. Then, more unusual beyond-Earth sentient traffic in the sky from our friend Scanner Guy 1968. He made some upgrades to his equipment, and here is what he can see now. And finally, Astral Projection 101 continues, as this topic keeps coming up in my conversations. There must be a reason more people are reporting these experiences, and I expect it's only going to increase. What I found after a couple of these exchanges was that there were some government employees, some three-letter agency people that were listening to what Dave and I had to say. We didn't know. One of them, a couple weeks after that, visited Dave at his pie shop. And there is documentation that demonstrates there has been a organized disinformation campaign to keep this information from going out or to steer the narrative. So in the meantime, I was leaked a transcript of a meeting at Camp David that President Reagan had, being briefed on these matters. It's not for me to go to the New York Times with it, but it's for me to figure out, how do we disclose this information? These people that I've been communicating with are preparing to back up the fact that somebody really needs to tell the truth. Because I know what's next. I've been to Telos. Today is the day where I convince all of you once and for all that you're about to have contact. If your vibration is at the level that it needs to be, you'll have it now. So you can either get on board and be a part of it, or watch as this all happens, and maybe you miss your ride to New Earth.
I'm really excited about our guest today. He is back by popular demand. We are talking again for a third time today with Mr. Lowell Johnson. So welcome back, Lowell. It is so good to see you again.
You know, I wanted to make sure we didn't talk too much before we hit the record button, like is our nature. And usually when I begin these things, there's a connection that we're going to have, and there's information we need to share before, we hit the record button, because some of it's still rather sensitive. Anyway, so when we started to do that today, I wanted to kind of rein us back in, because at first I want to address whatever has happened since the first time we did this together in October.
Absolutely.
I meant to look at it today to see how many views it had. And I'm not tethered to that kind of stuff, but you can't ignore 189,000 views on a platform that doesn't do that. So there's something that got that message out and spawned it. The people I've been hearing from, and Tara, I can't begin to tell you the number of people that have reached out and what they've shared. I have an archive of podcasts that I did. I did some with Dave Wallace. I've done them with people along the way, but there are a lot of sessions I did that were more like, I imagine, what Dolores Cannon would have been like, where I was just the observer and listening to these people's incredible stories. There's at least 60 or 70 of those that no one have ever heard yet. Now, whether they ever get shared, it's evidence that this stuff is going on, and it's been going on for a while. And so I wanted first to pay tribute to your platform, and whatever the mechanism was, it's been gratifying Whatever happened in October here wasn't like anything I've ever seen, and it spawned. So not just, I don't want to just focus on the number of people that have been here to listen to it. What it spawned beyond that, there was a friend of ours now in the Czech Republic who was so enthralled by it. She took it and ripped the movie and then translated it into her own language, where it's had 15 to 20,000 views of its own. And they
Yeah.
want more content. They
Mhm.
also want to see, how do we take the Ascension Handbook and translate that into their language? So
Wow.
I didn't see any of that coming, not at
Yeah.
all. I put the information out there like I was asked to share it with others, and
Mhm.
here's the result that's happening. Now, you can't convince me at all that all of this isn't accelerating for a greater purpose than we really
Right.
understand right now. And that's what
Mhm.
we're gearing ourselves up for.
Welcome to the new government tracking of the Earth's magnetic pole shift. The brand new site is up and kicking and much better than the old one. We're running the magnetic North Pole motion here, slowly traipsing around northern Canada for a few centuries, and then the acceleration. The magnetic pole shift is a cyclical event on Earth, and it's pretty major. NOAA experienced it. They line up with the Younger Dryas catastrophe, the last glacial maximum, and every Heinrich event in the last 50,000 years. Major losses of species come with every event, and earlier today, in the morning show, we covered 2 special reports by ALLATRA, a collection of scientists who have also come to the conclusion we're about to experience Earth's disaster cycle. Now, I want to be clear, I have major questions about this group and especially their ringleader, but when they cite their sources, I can review it myself, and there is a lot of good stuff in here. That's what I'm going to show you. In the first report, they identify the fact that there are magnetic anomalies, not just climatological ones, and that can't be blamed on human pollution. In fact, we're seeing changes on the other planets too. It's a solar system shift. But it was the other report that really spun me sideways yesterday, and we're going to go over key points and then 2 scary points I mentioned this morning. So first, excellent job identifying the fact that Earth's rotation speed is increasing, shortening the length of a day. It's another thing you can't blame on humans. They break down the 1990s pole shift event that sent us from losing 5% of the field per century to 5% every decade, and which shot the movement of the poles into overdrive, along with it taking an abrupt and unexpected 90-degree turn. In a brand new Earth change for the list, they found a paper I missed from 2017 highlighting a molten jet stream in the core, and it's speeding up, which nobody subscribed to my channel finds surprising, I imagine. And of course, their main point was that they think the major event of this cycle will be the reawakening of the Siberian traps, and oh boy, I hope not. It was the greatest volcanic event in Earth's history. It erupted for 1,000,000 years, changed the planet forever. But it was the next 2 images I'm going to show from the report that really caught my attention. I'm not actually too worried about the Siberian traps. First, this is what I was trying to explain to you guys a couple weeks ago. The magnetic pole shift progression is not linear. It goes up and down year to year, but with a long-term trend towards that acceleration and the pole shift. Outstanding identification here of that moment of acceleration where we started shifting 10 times faster. That is easily visible on the magnetic pole motion tracker. The dots are year by year, so if they're closer together, pole is moving slower. Further apart means the pole is moving faster, and that's the speed up right there. I went ahead and actually did maximum velocity plots going backwards so you can see how before the 1850s, everything was nominal, normal pole motion. The weakening had begun, but this is when the pole shift in total began. Now, going along with this is something I noticed in their motion minus Chandler wobble graphic. Folks, I live and breathe this data, and at no point did I ever think to do this. I had long suspected that the major accelerations occur after the slowdowns, like it's taking a breath, gearing up to lurch forward again. Folks, that's exactly what is shown here, and there is no good way to mathematically or even qualitatively show this without first removing the Chandler wobble, which I never thought to do. After every single slowdown, which all include a curvature of the motion vector, there is a major leap forward in speed and progress in the magnetic pole shift. And yes, it's clear we just had our curve in the vector, the slowdown or stalling of speed acceleration, and that means there is only one thing coming next. The major concern is, of course, that this will be the acceleration that takes us over the edge. I do hope we remember the now famous studies confirming that these magnetic pole shifts accelerate to rapid speeds that can bring the shift in less than 100 years. We have already eclipsed that time in this event, so it's anyone's guess how much time we have left. Folks, we await the next acceleration, the next recurrence of Earth's disaster cycle of space radiation and climate chaos and animal navigation failures, not to mention the fact that we now have the new risk in modern times of losing every power grid at the same time. Folks, the end of the window is unchanged, but now, instead of it being sometime in the late 2040s, I'm now going to say it could be anywhere from 2030 to the late 2040s. We will see what the data shows. Again, we are awaiting the next acceleration. I'll see you in the morning for the daily show. Be safe, everyone.
I see You are a soul that temporarily inhabits a physical body. Astral projection is probably one of the coolest things you will ever experience. Imagine this scenario. You're lying in your bed, eyes shut, completely relaxed and totally awake. After a few minutes, you feel your body becoming heavy and numb, and then you start rising up, floating a few feet above your bed. You look down and find that your physical body is sleeping peacefully on the bed. You notice that there is a glowing, pulsating bluish-white cord connected to your physical body. You are calm, relaxed, and awake. This is not a new experience for you, and you feel a blissful sensation of peace because you are now unchained from your physical shell. You are experiencing a joyous feeling of exhilaration and freedom from bounds. You look around the room and see that everything seems to sparkle. Everything seems to have life, more vibrant. You fly through the ceiling and into the sky and look down at your house, becoming smaller and smaller. And soon, you can see the curvature of the earth. You think of a friend of yours who lives across the world in Sweden. By thinking about him, you consciously go to him and you zoom across the world, and soon you're coming down into a house. You see your friend eating cookies at his computer. He's wearing blue jeans and a white t-shirt. Soon, you realize it's time for you to go back, and you think about your sleeping body. You find yourself back over your house, slowly moving down into your bedroom, and then back into your sleeping body. You wake up and go to your computer. Your friend is on Skype, and you tell him what you just saw in your dream. Your friend gapes in amazement. "That's absolutely right," he says. My friends, welcome to the world of astral projection. Astral projection is a phenomenon that is becoming rapidly more popular in the last 20 years, and even more so in the last 5. It is a process by which the human consciousness temporarily leaves the physical body and functions independently, while the physical body remains still and passive throughout. This results in observing the world from a point of view other than that of the physical body, and by means other than those of the physical senses. While astral projecting, however, you retain a very high level of waking consciousness during the experience, and can remember the event in every detail upon returning to the physical body. For many people, this happens randomly while asleep, becoming conscious in the middle of a dream. If you haven't, odds are somebody you know has. This is a very common experience, which is also known as lucid dreaming or out-of-body experience, OBE for short. This may sound crazy, but it really isn't. It's just relatively outside of the average human consciousness. In fact, we all experience this out-of-body state every night when we sleep. Most of these projections are unconscious because we are not trained to remember them. We'll be talking more about that in a bit. Astral travel was also known about in ancient times. The Egyptians called this the light body, Ka. They left inscriptions and drawings on rock walls depicting the soul leaving the human body. The Tibetans called it a double body, which housed the soul. Many Greek philosophers like Plato, Herodotus, and Hermotimus all talked about this as well. It's even written about in the Bible, for example, in the Apocalypse of John, and as well as the epistles of Paul and Tarsus. Reports confirm that at least 1 in 10 people have experienced a conscious OBE, either spontaneous or controlled. Spontaneous OBEs can occur at any time, while sleeping, during sickness, under medication, during an accident, or even while meditating. Controlled is like it sounds, willingly leaving the body. Before we continue, let's talk a little more about dimensions that we established an understanding of in Lesson 7. The dimension I'd like to talk about in specific is the 4th dimension, which is also generally referred to as the astral realm. Those who have visited the astral typically find themselves in an environment where all senses seem greatly magnified. These senses are not our normal physical senses, but inner astral senses. Thoughts can actually be seen to take shape instantly, and anything desired can be manifested by means of the powers of the imagination in the very process of creation. It is the ultimate place for true creation to take place, because you are only limited by yourself in what you can create. The astral plane vibrates at a much higher frequency than the physical plane. There is no gravity, or at least if there is, you're not bound by it. You're existing in these higher dimensions all at once, though less in the higher ones than here. In Lesson 1, we talked about the thought realm. At that time, I couldn't really say 4th dimension. It would have made no sense. But ultimately, that's where your thoughts are manifested. Even right now, as you're watching this, you're manifesting thoughts or ideas into this realm. From my understanding, emotions manifest on the 5th dimension, or it could be the 6th, as they are much more powerful. Remember when I said you were existing on higher dimensions as well? Well, angels would be a part of your higher self. To this day, all over the world, people report of being visited by angels. This is where they're from. As the dimensional levels go higher and higher, less and less has been documented. For a few people have actually been there to write about them, and even those who have a hard time putting such experiences into human words. So, let's talk about some benefits of astral travel. First-hand experience gives us the unique opportunity to experience and explore beyond the limits of our physical senses. It gives us the ability to obtain first-hand knowledge of our existence. Recalling past lives. We learn more about ourselves by understanding our past lives. Most people on Earth have been reincarnating over and over for the past 13,000 years since the to-be-discussed fall I mentioned in Lesson 7. As we project more and more, we begin to have healthy recollections of past lives. Identify reasons for existence. You may even recall the purpose that you came to this lifetime on Earth for. This information can help us get to know ourselves better, overcome traumas, self-cure certain illnesses, and expand our sense of fraternity and universalism. Remember, you don't have a purpose except the one you give yourself. Do you remember what that purpose was? Flight. Probably the best part about astral projection. I've only had 4 or 5 out-of-body experiences personally, but in all of them, I just ended up flying around. One time, I even flew through space. In the astral, even the sky isn't the limit. You can glide through the air like a balloon, or Superman around the world at breakneck speeds. I can't stress enough how fun this is. If you're gonna astral project, you'll probably just want to fly all the time. Meeting guides. You can meet up with your non-physical guides. They have had many names throughout history. Your higher self, your guides, your mentors, guardian angels, or simply your helpers. One time I was in meditation and I asked my guides to help me with astral projection, and they told me that they were helping, but I would still have to leave my body consciously on my own. Damn spirit guides. I wanted them to just pull me out. Other benefits also include overall well-being, a reduction in hostility, increased psychic abilities, accelerated personal development, inner calmness, an increased quest for answers, an increased respect and zest for life, meeting deceased loved ones, increased intelligence and memory recall, increased knowledge and wisdom, witnessing other realities, increased self-responsibility, increased spirituality, healing, and the biggest one of all, an understanding of life after death. Through astral projection, individuals are provided with irrefutable personal evidence that we are immortal. The physical body can die, but the consciousness lives forever. It reassures us that there is a life after death. People who have even one OBE are generally transformed, having a much greater faith in existence beyond the physical.